Hi YouTube, this is Evie. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. Today we are going to be talking about that oh so infamous website, Fetlife. Now, if you've been on my channel for any length of time, you will have heard me mention Fetlife at least probably a half dozen times in videos and dozens of different things that I've had to answer on Tumblr and most of my live streams and the podcast I do. I've talked about Fetlife a lot. I've mentioned it a lot, and I'm not alone in that. Most people who are BDSM educators and most people who are in the BDSM lifestyle utilize I recommend Fetlife to some degree. But what is Fetlife? Why do people use it? How can you use it successfully? And what are some misconceptions and some pitfalls of using Fetlife that you should be aware of before making an account? And I'm going to try and kind of sprinkle some of my own personal anecdotes into this video if I can. I may make a future video where I talk a bit more about my personal experience because I've been on Fetlife as long as I've been in the BDSM community. And while I am definitely still in my 20s and there are people who have been on Fetlife for, twice, if not 3 times as long as I have been, I still have quite a lot of history of using the site, and I've used the site for various different purposes that I think other people may be able to learn from. But that's not the topic for this video. What I want to go over first is, okay, what is Fetlife? Why do people use it? And just some general advantages that Fetlife has compared to other sites. Fetlife is very often referred to as the kinky Facebook. It's a way for people who are in the BDSM community, people who have fetishes, to socialize with each other, share their experience, join groups, find events, etc. It's very much an all-purpose website, and it's really one of the best ones on the internet that you can have if you are trying to get a wide view of the BDSM community and a wide sampling of finding people locally, finding people online, finding groups, etc. There's a lot of different things you can do on Fetlife. There are definitely alternative sites out there. Color Me, or I think Color Space, actually, sorry, is another site. I don't personally recommend it because I don't have any experience with it, and nobody I know uses it. I think it's kind of fallen out of favor in the last probably 5 years or so. And there's r/BDSM community and r/BDSM personals. Those ones are good resources in specific situations. r/BDSM community has a lot of great answers to a lot of very common questions. They have great resource links, a great FAQ, and if you're dealing with a unique situation, if you want to get personal advice about something that maybe you don't want to use your own personal information for because you don't want partners to see it or your local community to be involved with it, it can be a great resource for that reason. r/BDSM Personals is a pretty good way of finding people online, and I say pretty good in a very relative sense because it's not even really super great at that. Finding somebody online for BDSM is incredibly difficult because it's online. You don't really have a great way of verifying people's identity, their age, their intentions, their experience level, etc. And BDSM Personals is something that is at least specifically designed for that purpose. There's really not a lot of kink dating apps. There's not really a kink Tinder, a kink OkCupid, although you can definitely find kinky people on those sites. They're just made for vanilla people that kink people just happen to also use. There's not really anything out there that I know of that I would recommend that is specifically designed for kinky dating, and people definitely use r/BDSM Personals for that, but a lot of people also try to use Fetlife for that. Notice that Fetlife is often referred to as kinky Facebook. It's a social media website for sharing things with your friends and finding events, like Facebook is. Facebook is not a dating website, and neither is Fetlife. However, a lot of people tend to miss that particular memo. It's not designed for it at all in terms of either how other people use it and how the website is set up, how it navigates, how you're able to communicate with other people. None of it makes it easy to find people to date on there. None of it makes it easy to find partners. What Fetlife is really good at is facilitating the meetups that could potentially lead to a date rather than facilitating the dating itself, if that makes sense. So what I would like to share now is just how to successfully use Fetlife. How can you use Fetlife to your advantage, and what are some common things that people run into that really kind of puts them off from using Fetlife? If you are a young person, if you are submissive, and if you are relatively attractive and female identified, when you join Fetlife, depending on how you have your particular page set up, you are dealing with an absolute flood of messages from people all over the world, from people in Antarctica, New York, Papua New Guinea, Italy, Spain, all over the place. You will get people who send you messages and it will be like, hey babe, what's up? Do you want to be my slave forever? And that's a bit of a hyperbolic statement, but it's really not that far off from a lot of the messages that people will get on Fetlife. And the reason for that is you got to be really careful about how you set up your profile and how open your profile is. If you're somebody who already has a dominant, you already have established play partners, and you're really just looking to find local events and have a way to connect with people you meet and have a way of vetting people that you meet and potentially want to play with, you need to set up your profile so that way you don't get the people from Antarctica and Italy showing up on your profile. Unfortunately, Fetlife doesn't really have a way to make a profile completely private. So basically what you have to do is privatize your account as much as you possibly can. I recommend potentially putting what state or province you live in or country you live in, depending on the size of your particular country, and not putting your specific location. So if you live in a small town of rural Arkansas, you probably don't want to put your specific location because you're going to have a lot of very local people who you may know from working at the grocery store or the bank, or hey, they're friends of your mom and dad, that you probably don't really want to run into. And the more specific you make your location, the more common it is to get a flood of messages from people. Really, I recommend putting your profile as, if you don't pick a state or you don't pick a particular province, you can also use Antarctica if you really want to conceal your location and you don't want people to know where you live at all, even in what hemisphere. That's totally okay. You have complete control over setting up what your location is and you can change it at any time. Recommend picking a scene name and in particular a username that is not associated with your real name or any real identifying information that exists outside of Fetlife. Pick something unique so that way if your account is compromised in some way, you don't have to worry about it spreading all over across the entire internet, and you have plausible deniability that it's you. And I'll get more into how to do this in a moment, but it's good to have something where if you end up with a stalker on Fetlife or somebody who's sending you messages over and over and over again, it's easy to change your Fet name to something else and then they can't follow you. And as well, if you have something that's completely different from all of your social media accounts, be that Tumblr, Instagram, etc., it'll be more difficult for them to stalk you somewhere else. Another thing that you can do is have your profile picture be your only public picture. Something that really attracts people to message you on Fetlife is if you have a ton of public pictures. And you have a couple different settings you can do that you can change photos to at any time, be that when you upload them or a year later. You can choose public, which is like all Fetlifers. I think it might all just be like Fetlifers, might actually be the tag itself, but that lets anybody on Fetlife be able to view your picture. You can also set it to friends only, so that way only friends can see your pictures. That's what I have most of my pictures set to because, hey, I'm not on Fetlife to get famous. Like, I don't want my profile photos to go on KNP. I don't want like to have a bunch of people that I don't know in completely different countries and in completely different places be able to find my stuff. So setting it to friends only lets you have select ways of showing things to people that already know you but not the entire internet. And because of the fact that it's a lot harder for people who don't already know you to see your pictures, you're reducing your chances of random fuckboys messaging you. Because what happens is if you have a picture set to public and one of your friends like it and then their friends see that they've liked the photo and then they like the photo and then it just keeps going and going and going and going, right? It's a social network. So the more people who like it, the more people who are able to like it and view it, the more likely it is that somehow either your profile photo is going to end up on KNP, which is kinky and popular. That's how people see what the best of the site is. It's kind of like r/all on Reddit, if you will. And it just attracts so many more people to your profile that wouldn't see it if they weren't your friends. So that's a good way of shutting things down and preventing people who you don't want to contact you. A lot of these things really go hand in hand. So consider this section of the video, what I'm talking about, is both going to be how do I keep fuckboys from messaging me and how do I keep my mom's boyfriend from finding my Fetlife account. This is all information that I think applies to both situations because you're really just reducing the number of people who can find your particular profile and identify you as a specific person, period. The reason why I recommend not having a face is people are just more likely to message you if they can see a face. I always have my profile photo with either something at kind of an odd angle where you can't necessarily see my whole face, or a lot of my actual facial features are concealed either in shadow or rope or a blindfold or something to make me less specifically identifiable. You can also just have it completely with your head cut off, so that way, you know, unless you have have a very specific tattoo or a specific body piercing with unique jewelry that you have showing, it's going to be harder to identify you specifically. And it's just, another level of security, and people are less likely to send you messages if it's just, headless body shots. I don't really know why that is, but when I started posting more photos that didn't have my face in it, my messages went way down, which for me was a great thing. Another thing to keep in mind is if you are attracting people to your particular profile who are messaging you and are sending you unwanted comments or leaving, posts on your wall or something you don't want, you can block and delete pretty much anything on the website. Use it liberally. You have absolutely no obligation to respond to or respect people who send you random messages on FetLife. Delete, delete, delete. And no matter what you have in the body of your profile, it still will happen. That's just the nature of it. Now, I would like to kind of talk more extensively about how to construct a profile that it will suit your needs, but that does vary so much about how open you are, what you're looking for, how active you are in your local community. So for people who are looking for advice on how to create an effective FetLife profile, as in like the actual text portion of it, I am completely happy to, if you guys are on my Patreon, so if you're at like the $1 level, the $5 level, whatever, either send me a message on FetLife or send me a message on Patreon. I'm happy to look at your profile and kind of be your editor, as it were, for the particular writing that is your profile and help you be able to come up with something effective that will help you find or help you attract the people that you want and attract the people that you don't want. Unfortunately, no matter what you put in your profile though, the worst of the worst will still message you. It doesn't matter if the only thing you have in the text of your profile is, "Do not message me, I am not looking for anybody, fuck off fuckboys, if you message me, you will instantly be blocked." It doesn't matter if you have that in all red caps and it's the only thing on your profile. People will message you anyways, and the reason for that is the people who use FetLife as a way to try and hit on people, although they can't send pictures in messages, which is like, thank God, but they will just send, I think, probably hundreds of messages to people. It doesn't matter what's in their profile, it doesn't matter who they're in a relationship with, where they're located, what their age is. They will just send spam messages, and it happens. And that is when you should use the block button as liberally as you possibly can. Some people are just shitty, they don't care what's in your profile, and you don't have to deal with that, so don't. And there are people, unfortunately, who are not kinky but still try to use FetLife because they really, really want to have sex with a crazy chick, and they really, really want to have like hot, crazy, rough sex. And I think there's a way to do that that's not invasive, but nobody has really actually figured out how to do that effectively yet, because again, FetLife is not a dating website, and it is definitely not a hookup website. It's just not what it's meant for. So you do have a lot of people who have penises as their profile picture, people who all they talk about is how hung they are, and they're like, clean hung man, 6'3", looking for docile, young, Asian submissive to serve all my sexual needs, and it's just like, gag me with a spoon, right? Like, are these people real people? I honestly don't know, because it's like, what they post on their profile is like so alien to like how most people act in like vanilla situations. I don't even know how to perceive it a lot of the time. But there are people out there who use FetLife that way, who are just vanilla fuckboys who want rough sex from hot Asian submissives or whatever their particular, fetish happens to be that they really like about women or whatever. Just ignore them, block them. You don't have to deal with that bullshit, because you can really tailor the FetLife experience to pretty much whatever you want it to be. If you just block everybody who gets in your way and ignore messages, actually that's probably the best thing you can do on FetLife. The most thing that's best for your sanity, the thing that is best for your sanity on FetLife, if it's a message from somebody you don't know that has a blank profile or a penis for a profile picture, don't even open the message, just delete and block it. You will save your sanity, trust me. Because while you do have the people out there who are sending messages that say, "Hey babe, what are you doing tonight?" winky emoji, you will also have the people who will send you 5-paragraph long rape fantasies about you based on your profile picture and some oddly specific details that they've invented for the purpose of the story. And I really don't know why people feel the need to share that. I honestly don't know. You also have people who will try to tell you they have tribute for you, which generally means that they've printed out a picture of you from your profile, and then they have pleasured themselves to it, and for some reason they think that like people want to know about that or see it. And there are definitely some people out there who want that, but obviously in a consensual way and in a negotiated way, which is not what they're offering. So that's some of the terrible ways that people use FetLife, but there are good people that exist on FetLife. There are people who are respectful. There are people who use it the same way that you want to use it, which is finding events, finding like-minded people, finding groups, finding educational resources. Those people do exist, but finding them just on the site itself is hard. I think where FetLife really succeeds in finding genuine people is where it intersects most with the real-life community. So here I'd recommend, if you are interested in finding things locally, is go to the FetLife search bar, which is in like the upper right-hand corner. Also, the UI for FetLife is oftentimes absolutely abysmal because they have a very small development team, and they also just update things very slowly, but they do have some actual functional search features. So what you can do is you can go to the search bar, which is in the upper right hand corner of the website, and just type in your location or the location of someplace you would be interested in visiting. If you live in a small town, I recommend kind of expanding your search to the nearest big city. So if you live out in rural Arizona, I would maybe recommend typing in Phoenix or Mesa, or maybe even somewhere in one of the adjacent states that you can possibly travel to if you are near the Four Corners. I don't know, just wherever you happen to live, pick the nearest biggest city, or whatever city you happen to live in if it's like a medium to large size town, and just type that in, and then you'll have a couple of different columns available to you where you can narrow down your search results. There's usually groups, which is different groups that are based around that particular area and have that particular keyword. There are people, so people who have that particular term or word in their name. There's fetishes, which is, a specific fetish you can add to your profile that is, again, based on that search term. Then there are events. The two most important ones on there will be events and groups. I recommend joining groups because that will give you access to as many events as there is usually posted and advance notice, ways to find people who are also going to the event, carpooling opportunities, volunteering opportunities, and smaller events that maybe don't have a specific event created for them but are private and are something that you would maybe need to message somebody to have access to. This is also a great way to find like-minded people and find resources, like I have mentioned countless times in this video already. So you can type in your local, let's say you're looking in, I don't know, Los Angeles, California, because if you're in LA, you have an absolute volume of things you can pick from in terms of kink. It is a huge center in America for kink activity. So you type in, Los Angeles, California, and then you go to groups. You'll have the opportunity to go, okay, here's the LA pet group, here's the LA submissives group, here's the LA female dom group, here's the LA munches group, here's the LA personal ads, here is, LA, photographers and models page. There's a lot of different types of groups out there that are location based, and join as many of them as you want. When you join a group, it will appear on your profile, and you have the opportunity to get notifications when people post things there. Groups are pretty much the only way that you can use FetLife as a dating tool, because there are personal ad groups and there are personals just in general. Some of them are location-based, some of them are interest-based, some of them are online only, some of them are experience-based, age-based, etc. I would most recommend the ones that have a tie to the real-life community and have a tie to actual, your location or something in real life, because online, again, you really don't know who people are. You don't really have a great way of verifying information, especially because you can't send pictures and you can't send, a copy of your ID or something over FetLife to verify age. So it's not really great for that. But when you go to the local groups, you can do something, and each group has its own individual rules, so make sure you use that as well. But you can say, 24 female, some experience, seeking blank, or whatever, and then leave a relatively detailed picture of your personal experience in kink, what you are looking for, who an ideal candidate would be, etc. Again, kind of treat it like a job ad, because what you're looking for is someone to fill a particular position in your life or fulfill a particular fantasy or experience you want to have. So let's say, for example, you say, 24 female, looking for bondage instructor, looking for play partner, looking for rigger to go to rope classes with, or something like that. Just be as specific as you can, because that will allow you to narrow down your results as much as possible. If you say 24 female looking for dom, you are going to get messages from all kinds of people, whereas if you are very specific in the title of the ad you're putting together, you're more likely going to get the actual results that you want. Now, when you are using personal ad groups, you will still get fuckboys who message you, because when you're on a group, you're posting something that people who are members of the group potentially will get a notification of that posting, which will lead to people swarming onto your profile and swarming onto a particular ad, which can be a good thing if you are specific, but you will still attract some fuckboys. The way to avoid that is to make it as specific as possible and make them go through as many hoops as possible to get what they want, which is a response from you. So if you make it very specific, and if you just narrow it down as much as possible, you are creating a higher barrier to entry, which means you will get less fuckboys responding to you. And that is really what the goal of all this is lessening the number of bad responses and increasing the number of good responses. Now, most groups have their own personal policy that when you join the group, you'll have to read through, and they will give you some advice about how to post a good ad. These are some places you can go to learn how to write a good ad, etc. Make sure you follow those. And something to be aware of as well is there will be people who use the personal ads as a place to troll other people. This can be very good-natured, this can be sarcastic, and it can be almost like a sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a spoof or a parody in some way, because there will be a lot of people who use these groups and they say, 35 male hung clean STI test results, looking for 3 females for hot gangbang in hotel next Friday, like something completely out there like that. People will generally post that kind of stuff. And conversely, there will be people out there who take that concept of the guy with camera or the guy who's just looking for a hot fuck and just completely turn it around and completely make a parody out of it. And it can sometimes be confusing if you're not used to how the particular personal ads space in your community works, to be like, so is that a genuine person who's responding to me, or is this just a troll? Like, is this just a troll account? Is this a general ad posting? Like, is it real or not? And it can be hard to tell, and it'll just be something you kind of have to figure out as you go along in the wonderful world of Fetlife. Now, when it comes to finding events, it's both easier and harder in some ways. It can be easier because you don't have to really interact with anybody. You're not really searching for anybody in particular or trying to get a response in order to find an event. Basically, what you have to do is type in wherever you want to go, Seattle, Phoenix, New Jersey, wherever it is. Type in that and then go to event, and then it'll pop up with all of the events that are happening that people have created. Now, you're not going to get every single event this way. A lot of events aren't posted to Fetlife, but it will lead you to find munches, rope jams, different discussion groups, potlucks, meetup, mixers, actual dungeon nights you can go to, as well as classes for sure. And that can be a great way to get started in the community, because really what Fetlife is good at is facilitating further interaction. So when you go and you find an event on Fetlife, you can attend an event, meet people, get their Fetlife information, correspond with them on Fetlife if you're interested in playing with them or being friends with them or getting to know them, because it doesn't mix with any of your vanilla social media, which is great, and you have a way to vet them using Fetlife when you do have their information. Then when you go to the munch, you can also not only meet people, but find out about other events, because depending on your community, again, not all of the events are going to be on there. It may be that John has a private party he hosts every single weekend at his house, but he doesn't post it on Fetlife because he doesn't want anybody to have his address information, which totally makes sense. So even just going to one munch can completely open up your opportunities and experiences for actually being able to interact with the real life community. Now, that's all I really wanted to talk about today on the subject of Fetlife. There's definitely a lot more ground I could cover here, and I will definitely be filming a video in the future where I talk about how I have personally used Fetlife and my own personal, pitfalls and journeys on the website. So if you guys want to hear about that, or you have specific questions about how to use Fetlife, different experiences I have had on Fetlife, do leave that down in the comment section below. If you haven't already and you want to see more from me and know when that video comes out, I highly recommend subscribing, which you can do down below. You can also find all of my different social media, my Tumblr, my Patreon if you want to support this channel and help me make more videos like this and cover more subjects in depth like I have been doing. Thank you guys so much for your support so far. As I am filming this video, we are so close to the next tier on Patreon. I'm so excited. The next tier that we're going to be at is the video game stream tier. So either what I'm going to be doing is adding an extra stream night for an hour or 2 hours where I'm going to be doing a stream that is just video games in addition to the one that I already do every week, or I'm going to be adding time to the existing stream based on once we meet that goal, what a poll reveals that people would prefer more. So, you know, keep looking out for that. Check out my Patreon if you haven't already and you want the opportunity to be able to vote on that. But until I see you guys next time, have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.